Well, the biggest thing is I didn't have to deal with a bank and all the processes involved with that. So no credit check or stringent terms. Usually when you're dealing with the bank, they're going to determine the terms and say, here you go. You like these terms? Take them. You don't like them? Have a good day. We'll find someone else to give our money to. When you have the power and flexibility to create terms that make you comfortable, it's a wonderful feeling. What's up, YouTube? It's Vic Fam, the Agent Investor here. I want to ask you a question. Do you know that it is possible to buy a property using a loan without a credit check, without a bank, and on your own terms? It absolutely is. And if you didn't know this, stick around. I'm going to show you exactly how I did this to acquire my first 3 rental properties. So you may or may not have heard of a term called seller financing, also called owner financing. Now, this is a method where instead of you going to the bank and asking for a loan, you go to the seller rather, and you say, hey, Mr. Seller, or Miss Seller if it's a woman, and you say, hey, how about you be my bank and I just pay you every month? That way we can make our own terms and skip all of that extra paperwork and madness involved with getting a bank loan. That's exactly what you do. You make a deal with the owner and you come up with a contract with the terms that you both agree on. Purchase price, down payment, if there is one, how much you'll be paying every month, interest rate, all that stuff. Now there's a little more complexity to it than that, but very simply put, that's basically what you do. Now, how was I able to buy my first 3 rentals using this method? Well, the first thing I did was I found an owner who wanted to sell. And when I did this, I lucked up because I was actually only looking to buy 1 property. And I was so anxious and hungry to have my first property. In fact, the seller that I found actually had 5 houses that he wanted to sell. Now, this guy's been a landlord his whole life, and he was ready to retire and just offload all his properties and just be done with them. And he said I could come look at all 5 of them if I wanted to. So I'm geeked, right? I'm like, man, I get to look at 5 houses and choose the one that I like. This is great. Turns out these were fairly small houses and they weren't valued at very much, but they had tenants in them. And after I did some numbers on them and realized how well they were cash flowing, I just couldn't pass on the deal. So originally what we wanted to do was purchase all 5 of the properties. And guys, when you hear me say we, sometimes I'm referring to my business partner, who also happens to be my sister. But later we decided that the 5 were out of our budget for our first deal and convinced the owner to sell us only 3 of the properties. Long story short, he agreed to finance the 3 properties together in a package deal to us and act as the bank and carry the mortgage for us. The properties were valued at the time at around $130,000 for all 3 combined. All right, and I was able to get him down to a purchase price of $95,000 with a down payment of $9,000, which is only about 9.5% down, which isn't the best. I know some investors who can get these deals done with 0 money down, but for me, being my first deal and my first properties, I really wasn't upset. 2 of the houses were occupied and 1 was not. All right, we did some minor repairs on the non-occupied home and had a tenant in it about a month after we closed on the deal. The mortgage payment we pay to the seller on these 3 properties is $679 a month for a 15-year term. The rents combined bring us in $1,900 a month. Remember, none of that mortgage payment is coming out of my pocket, right? I just take the money from the rent that's being paid to me from the tenants, and I use that to pay the mortgage. And of course, you can't forget about taxes, insurance, and other costs associated with owning a rental. I'm not going to get too heavy into the numbers on this deal because I haven't owned the properties very long. Once I get to that year marker, I'll be able to assess the return a little better, and we'll save that for another video. But just know that for the most part, all is well with the properties. And don't forget, I bought these properties with equity from day one, meaning they were worth more than I actually paid for them. In fact, they're probably worth even more now since the market is so crazy and there seems to be a shortage in single-family homes. But how the heck does seller financing actually benefit the seller, and why would they want to do that? Well, for one, it can allow a tired landlord, like the seller that I was dealing with, get out of having to deal with managing properties, so that way they don't have to fool with that stuff anymore. Also, it could allow a seller to collect a lot more money over a longer period of time, possibly more than they would have made by taking a lower cash offer. Typically, cash offers are significantly lower. Plus, the owner still has a mortgage lien on the properties, so if I don't pay on those properties, he can just take them back. So let's say, for example, I pay on the properties for 5 years and I just quit paying. Well, guess what? He can foreclose on me, take his properties back and sell them to someone else after he's collected 5 years of payments from us, which I think is about $40,000. But what about me? How does seller financing benefit me? Well, the biggest thing is I didn't have to deal with a bank and all the processes involved with that. So no credit check or stringent terms. Usually when you're dealing with the bank, they're going to determine the terms and say, here you go. You like these terms? Take them. You don't like them? Have a good day. We'll find someone else to give our money to. When you have the power and flexibility to create terms that make you comfortable, it's a wonderful feeling. Now, I'm not saying by any means that it's easy to find sellers who will agree to finance your deal. It took a great amount of work on my part to make this deal happen, but it is not impossible and it is not as difficult as you may think. Just get out here and talk to some people. You'll be surprised how powerful communication can be. Guys, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. Would you ever try this method, or do you feel safer dealing with the bank? Let me know. Don't forget to smack that like button below. Hit the subscribe button if you want to stay updated on videos like this one. I'm the Agent Investor. Thanks for watching.